This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, it's being recorded.
It's now being recorded, everybody. So your shows that you're streaming have not been recorded.
Yeah.
So you're safe. No, so my name is Kenny Newville. I'm the Director of Marketing and Research Application at the Vitae Foundation. Since it was asked, I am the Director of Marketing, so I manage the marketing team for our nonprofit that is local and started in Jefferson City. That is a nationwide nonprofit. But then I also do the Research Application Director position as well, which is managing a team of people who manage hundreds of pregnancy health center digital media campaigns across the country. So that's all founded here in Jefferson City, local here. So that is what I do. And I'm currently streaming, well, I guess technically we're streaming the same thing right now. Like we're watching when we can, Letterkenny on Hulu.
Which is like Gilmore Girls for boys. They talk really fast the whole time.
Well,
I have to be like, Kenny, what did they just say? Like, I don't know what they said.
But it's called Letterkenny. It was originally a YouTube series called Letterkenny Problems. You can taste that there. However, I would recommend, we do have to pause it when our 6-year-old comes in the room. So,
It is not 6
yeah.
years old. Lots of bad language.
Most of which she knows.
We're being recorded.
I told you this is a bad idea.
And I'm Natalie. I do marketing for the public library here in town. Other than Letterkenny, I just finished Cheer on Netflix, the docuseries. It's so good. Everyone should go watch it. So anyway, okay, so what we're going to talk about today is creating a social media marketing plan for 2020. Before we kick it off, one of the biggest things I think a lot of times we think, oh, I don't need to plan like in social media, like I'll just go do it. But we're really going to talk today about why it's important to have a plan and the strategy that goes in behind it, so that not only can you build a really strong brand online, but also it just makes finding and creating content easier if you know what you're looking for. So we've kind of talked about this before, but what is a marketing plan? It's a document. It details everything that you need to know to successfully promote yourself or your business. Ideally, it should cover a year. However, it's nice to divide it into smaller chunks. So at the library, my marketing plan is week by week. I have a whole year mapped out where I can plug in important dates, but I really focus week by week. And then I also know that I'm getting things posted in a timely way. It's not like, oh my gosh, I haven't posted for 7 days. Really marking special occasions. So again, for the library, like we know in April, National Library Week is a week that we make sure we have content created for. It can be event-based like that. It could also just be promotion-based. So we just came out with the holiday season. Anybody who works retail, like Black Friday is a big day. If you're a nonprofit, Giving Tuesday is a big day. If there's a time of year where people are buying houses more, selling houses more, you know what those trends are now. So looking at those now to block out for a whole year.
And if you're a for-profit, Giving Tuesday can still be a big day. Find a nonprofit that you're passionate about and partner with them and promote them. Not only does it make your brand look good, but it also propels them and builds goodwill. And I would say that it might sound obvious, right, that you need a marketing plan, but believe me, and we've got plenty of business leaders who are going to be watching this or are watching this, and it's 2020. It is no longer okay to make social media an afterthought. It's not. Your brand requires social media just like it requires any other marketing avenue that you would put money into. And so obviously, social media isn't just one of those things that you just do on your phone. It's one of those things just like any other marketing plan for your brand. You've got to have strategy and you've got to have purpose as you move forward.
So we're going to kick off first with just the fundamentals. And we've had a session about this before that Ashley did, auditing your profiles. So this is just kind of a very basic part of this. And I think that she uploaded those. So if you're not in our Facebook group, it's social media forum/JCMO Chamber. Request to get added and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I remember the name.
We have been relying on Linda before Kelsey and now Kelsey for 5 years to get that right.
And I created the group and I still can't remember the name. It's social media forum dash JC Mo Chamber.
See, she can do it again.
I know,
Look
twice.
at that.
So anyway, I'm pretty sure that the auditing presentation is on there. But so just looking at, okay, where are you right now? What networks are you currently active on? But more importantly, where does your audience hang out?
Mhm.
So for the library, we are really active on Facebook and Instagram because typically Facebook is where a lot of our like grandparents and moms hang out, whereas Instagram is more where our teens hang out, although they're kind of getting away from even there. And so just looking at where's your audience, where that's where you need to be, right? If that makes sense. But keeping in mind how much time you have to spend on social media. So again, our teens are hanging out on Snapchat and TikTok and all these different apps. I don't have time to manage that. So we're gonna do Facebook and Instagram really well. And that's the decision we've made. Hopefully the parents of the teenagers will see our content and be like, hey, did you know they're doing this? But, so just looking at the time that you have to spend on it is really important. And then are your networks optimized? So are your images the right size? Because they change all the time. Images like the Facebook cover photo, it changes all the time. So just looking at that, does your stuff look as good on a desktop as it does on a phone? Because
Yeah. Well, that's an important thing to point out, because if you're creating a Facebook cover photo for your page and you're doing it on a desktop, your mobile app is not going to optimize that cover photo. It's actually going to zoom. And so if you have your desktop, you've got information on your right-hand side, your right-hand side and your left-hand side. It might get cropped out if you're looking at a mobile view. And the majority of people who are on Facebook, I mean the vast majority of people who are on Facebook are doing it from a phone. And so you really want to optimize for that mobile experience. Like Natalie said, even just normal images that you would post in your timeline, on your wall, whatever you want to call it, wherever you are, they do change fairly regularly in terms of Twitter and Facebook. And once upon a time, there was this amazing app called Hootsuite, which we still have, and people would say, oh, well, I'm going to post this to Twitter and share it to Facebook, right? And all of a sudden now your Facebook account has a Twitter link, or more commonly, your Twitter account has a Facebook link. Well, just because someone's on Twitter doesn't mean that they want to view your content on Facebook. And if they're scrolling through their Twitter feed, they're going to see FB dot blah, 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 blah. They're not going to click anything. They're not going to look at it. It's just wasted space. So you want to make sure that you're not necessarily copying content from one platform to the next. You can have themes. You can use the same images. Just make sure that they're optimized for each platform that you post on individually.
And so one of the things too, kind of a trick that I do for our Facebook photo, our cover photo, I either make it a photo, like it's a people or a building or something, because then it's a little bit easier for it to be optimized from mobile to desktop. Or if I'm doing something where I really need it to have words, like it's an image we've created, I try to just really make the inside of it the important information and the outside is just like design or prettiness, so that if it gets cut off, it doesn't matter. But just checking that and adjusting as needed. And then which networks are currently bringing you the most value? So we have found that Facebook is really for the library, it is our go-to. That is where people find their information, that's where we get the most comments. So we really focus on that. Instagram is like our fun, like just being silly, behind the scenes. So that's the one when stuff gets really busy, that one kind of gets dropped a little bit. But Facebook we're very focused on. So figuring out of your customers, where is the value? Where are you getting more, whether it's sales or donations or interaction, however it is that you're measuring that growth. And then don't be afraid to look at your competitors. And this is not to say that you want to steal their content outright, but what are they doing that's working? Do they go live and give tips and tricks? Do they write blog posts and share that? So just kind of scoping out your competitors and seeing what they're doing that's working, because more than likely if you do it, it'll work for you too. So just checking that out.
Or just seeing why it's working. Ask yourself, why is what my competitor is doing working? And that might give you why it's working, and then you can take it and make it your own. I mean, let's be frank. The social media can totally be about stealing. You just don't want to, like, you know, right-click copy, right-click paste. That's not what you want to do. But I mean, just go on Twitter and watch some of the brands interact, and they're constantly copycatting each other when they have a good idea, and it rolls, you know. And so I think that it's definitely important that you understand what your competition is doing, and it might not even be local competition. Take a look at what other brands outside of this community are doing that might resonate well within the community. So.
For sure. Okay, and so the next step is really to document what your ideal customer. But it's very, very important that you need to be specific. So you could say, my ideal customer is a parent. Or you could say it's a male age 30 to 50 who earns over $70,000 a year who's mainly on Twitter and likes tech. So you see the difference there. Like, they're both parents, but
Potentially one of them is.
Well, yeah.
To be fair.
I meant for it to be a male parent. I didn't have that in there. So they're both parents in this scenario, but the one really gives you more information on how to market to them and where to market to them. And so it's super important to answer these questions, to really see, you know, how old are they? Where do they live? What is their job? What is their income? I like this part, the pain points that your business can solve. So for example, like the home health staff, your ideal customer is probably not the people that need home health, it's probably their kids, who the pain point is they're unable to take mom and dad to the doctor or to care for them in the home. But that's something that your business can solve. So really narrowing that down, and then their most used social network. It does no good if your ideal customer is on Twitter and you are only posting on Facebook. You're not reaching your ideal customer then. So figuring that out is very important.
Yeah, and this is our obligatory mention of the phrase going viral. But if you go viral with a segment of people that are never going to buy your product or service, going viral suddenly no longer matters. So you really need to understand the persona that you're trying to reach. Who is your target audience, and then try to cater your stuff towards them. Even if you're not a gamer, but your target audience could potentially be a gamer, you need to start focusing on the three of us right here.
Yeah. Okay, and then finding your marketing voice and your tone. So these are some great questions. If your brand was a person, what kind of personality would it have? What is their relationship to the consumer? Or your relationship if it was a brand. So are you a coach, a friend, a teacher? You know, on Facebook, the library's tone is very much, we try to be fun, like humorous, a little bit sarcastic sometimes, but also educational because that's kind of our role in the community.
If you need a good example of this, go ahead and look on Twitter at Wendy's. Yeah. Wendy's has decided to take on the persona for like, what, 5 years now, of snarky redhead, and it works really well. I guarantee you they're selling more hamburgers because of their Twitter feed. Mm-hmm. Guaranteed. Yeah.
And it's funny too, because now that Wendy's has done that, some other brands have kind of like dabbled in it a little bit. And I don't remember, there was something that was like, it happened, I think, right after the last session, or the last one of these. And it was like not safe for work, but it was all these brands that were like, do you remember that? We were like, oh, we have to talk about that.
It was, yeah, it was, so who was it? I don't remember who kicked it off, but it was a bunch of brands playing on Netflix and chill. That's what it was. And it was, and of course brands were jumping in and creating their own iterations, and I think another brand came in and actually tagged another brand, and by the way, you know, oh, look at that, he's blabbering about brands and he's not being specific. I'm not being specific because again, we're being recorded. And also playing with other brands on social media is a good thing. Like, involve your organization with the community that you're in, and you know, a rising, you know, what is it? A high tide raises all ships. And people like to see, people buy from brands that are characters. They don't buy from brands that are brands. As a matter of fact, there's even a meme, you can look it up. It's Shut Up Brand. But anyways, it's important that people feel a connection to your organization, your business, for them to want to spend with your organization or business.
And I think ways to think about it too, like libraries do this a lot around like World Series and Super Bowl. Like they'll do like stacks of books that say some funny, like we're gonna beat you, and they'll tag the library in the other communities. So like the Kansas City Public Library will tag whoever it is that we're supposed to be playing on Sunday. Those sports teams, we don't watch football, sorry.
All right, let's go around the room and talk about what we're not watching.
So they'll go and they'll tag that public library, and then it goes back and forth, and it's so funny to watch them, and it's all good natured. You know, they did it during the World Series when the Royals won the World Series, and with those other libraries. So, you know, thinking about different ways that you can kind of do it in a fun, like good natured way, especially if you are a school and you have a big like rivalry coming up, kind of doing a fun thing with that. And you can turn it into, hey, we're gonna do a can drive. You know, we bet our students can collect more canned goods for our food pantry than your students can, and turn it into something that's beneficial to your community.
Well, I think most people have seen there was this storyboard about these two churches that were right across the street from one another. One of them was a Catholic church, one of them was an evangelical church. And you know, with the signs in front of their locations, they would send messages, and eventually they started getting into arguments across the street. And you can look it up. It's funny, but you know, that makes people laugh. Even if you're an atheist, you're driving down the road and there's the Catholic church and there's the evangelical church sniping at each other across the street through these signs. It's funny. And so, again, it's endearing. That's what you want to be. You want to be endearing to your audience. Because remember, if you're endearing to the wrong persona, it's not going to make your business any more profitable.
All right. So now this is the fun part, in my opinion.
So you thought we were stalling. We were actually working ahead there.
Yeah. So like the creating and curating content is my favorite part of social media. And here's my little tip that I think I've shared before. I actually have a group that just has Kenny and I in it on Facebook, and I just named it social media content. And when I see something on Facebook that I think is like I could use for the library, or I can use for Norwex, or I can, you know, use it in any of the different things that we kind of do, I share it to that group so that when I'm like, oh, I really need to post something, what am I going to post? I go and scroll through that and I find either ideas to create my own content or just things to share. So that's my tip. Because sometimes, you know, you see cool stuff and you're like, I don't need to post that today. The best part is when I apparently didn't tell him that we were in that group, and he was like interacting with it, and I was like, oh, that's a good one. And he goes, I didn't like it was just going to be in there.
I almost shared it. I would have just, you know, let the cat out of the bag right there. But
okay, so the way that I keep things organized, and this template is in our Facebook group. I use a Google Sheet. I have it dated each week. I do our week Monday through Sunday because before I leave work on Friday, I make sure Saturday and Sunday is scheduled. This is how I kind of keep track of things. So I either put a link if I'm sharing something or just a little, you know, staff shirt pick. Like I know what that is. Other people don't need to know what that is, but that's how I keep things straight. So obviously there are different ways that you can create content and curate content. There's images and videos. Blog posts are great if you don't have a blog on your website. It's not necessarily something that you have to go create, but like at the library we have a blog. We don't even post super often. It's kind of up to our staff when they're writing things, but we just try to find ways to like engage with people that way. So for example, we have like craft programs, so we'll have whatever person is doing the craft program, we'll write a blog post with the instructions so the people who couldn't come to the program could then do the craft at home, that kind of thing. So company news is also a great thing to share on social media. Try not to make it super boring, right? Sometimes I think company news can be very dry, so try to find a way to make it engaging. Social media is supposed to be social, right? It's supposed to be fun. Infographics, ebooks, they're It's a lot easier now to write an ebook. I will tell you, the public library will not just put any book in our collection, so don't think that. But there are, especially like I see a lot of people in like the fitness and health world will write short ebooks with recipes or tips and tricks or their strategies. So it's an interesting way that we haven't really dabbled in, but I think I've seen a lot of people do it. So interviews are also great. If you share the link, like if you're interviewed by a TV station or a newspaper, but you can also interview like as the marketing person, interview your CEO about something and post that on there. So it doesn't have to be like a professional interview. It can be something that you're doing. And then using Instagram stories and Facebook stories, which we've talked about that before. We won't go into all that now, but.
Yeah, when I was the director of marketing for Whaley's Pharmacy, some of our most catchy content really was behind the scenes of the pharmacy. Now, obviously, with a pharmacy, you've got to be careful with HIPAA and all those things. There's some sensitive material, but if you're filming, Whaley's East End has a Parata Pass machine, which takes a bunch of pills in a big machine and packages them into little tiny strip packaging. So you just tear it off and go for the day, and you don't have to worry about pill bottles and planners and all that stuff. And it's a fascinating thing to watch. And I think a lot of people don't even know this thing exists and how it works, let alone that there's one right there on High Street. And so some of that content and kind of having like, a farm tech walk people through like how the machine works was engaging. It was interesting. People would watch it. It had a hook. And so, with interviews, if you have a storefront, well, that's what your customer sees, but show them behind the scenes. Show them how look behind the watch face. Look at the gears and the cogs. Some people will be turned on by it, some people won't, but it is interesting, and it creates new and fresh content when you're a little starved if there's nothing going on that you want to show people.
So then once you're done with that, you want to make sure you're tracking, analyzing, and optimizing. So the first thing to do is decide what benchmarks it is that you want to monitor. And I will tell you that your likes is like, that's not a great benchmark. You really want to look at, like for Facebook, we monitor engaged, daily page, engaged use, and daily total reach. Because that shows me the number of people who are regularly interacting with us, and then the number of people that our page is getting to. You don't have to do that one. If you just look at your insights on your different social media channels, it'll kind of tell you. So just going and looking at those and just picking one. It doesn't matter what it is. Just pick something that you want to track. That way you know if you're being successful or not.
Well, and again, obligatory Facebook algorithm comment, but so there's a lot of talk about what it is that it calculates and how you can, move yourself up in a news feed and all that stuff. And to be fair, it's changing constantly and not everybody knows everything about it. But what I will say is, have you guys noticed in the last, I know it's in the last year, probably the last 6 months, the top contributor a badge that you can get if you interact with a brand often or an organization. That's Facebook's way of pushing users to engage with your content. And so, Facebook's obviously trying to work both ends, work for you and then for them. And so, get those people who will become, we talk about brand ambassadors quite a bit. We've done sessions on those here, but get people to constantly engage with your content, people who are loyal to your brand, so that other people, feel that they can go in and share their views or comment and interact. I mean, if you've got a lonely Facebook post that was posted 14 hours ago and nobody's commented on it, chances are nobody's going to continue comment. But if you've got a Facebook post that's, a couple hours old even, and one of your top contributors goes on and makes a comment, that opens the door to comfort for other people to come in and start a conversation in. So it's important that you get people to engage, and that's what we would recommend tracking, not necessarily just reach and not necessarily just likes either.
Yes.
Are you pulling that information monthly, or is Facebook and Instagram providing that information on an annual basis?
So you can do either. I do it monthly because for the library, I have to report on it monthly. So if you just go to Insights and click Export, and you can pick the dates that you want to do it. Yeah. So the other really important thing is testing new ideas to see how your audience likes them, but don't do a whole bunch of new ideas. So for example, at the library, I can always ask, what are you reading right now? And we will get a bazillion comments. Makes sense, right? People who follow the library want to tell us what they're reading. So like if I've tried some like new things that maybe aren't working as well as I wanted them to, I'll do that one to help boost our algorithm back up again, because I know it'll get a lot of comments. So just kind of do a mix of like things that you know that are working, and throw in a few things that you want to see if it might work. Okay, so now we're going to kind of talk about actually implementing this. So as you guys are sitting here, I want you to look ahead and think about what special events or promotions do you want to highlight in the next 6 months. And just kind of think about that a little bit as we kind of go through this next step, because ideally then when you leave here, you're going to have kind of the bare bones of a plan, hopefully. And then determining how soon do you want to promote them. So the example that we're actually going to use today is Ice Cream Splash, because that was easier than me trying to dig through the library's Facebook page. The Ice Cream Splash Facebook page was easier. So thinking about that and working backwards from the event.
Backdating is actually a very underutilized tool in general in business, I've come to find. And it's something that would be very beneficial to you, not even from a social media standpoint, but since that's what we're talking about. And that's what that's where you sit down and you say, here is my event. And then you say to yourself, what do I want to happen 30, 60, and 90 days, or whatever your arbitrary days are before the event to make this event successful and stress-free. So backdating, definitely utilize it for a lot of things, but social media as well.
So Ice Cream Splash happens in July, so we're in January, so we've kind of already started like mapping out when things are going to happen for that. If you're sitting here and you're like, I have no idea what's coming up, I recommend this is, I do this at the library, it's a yearly of the month schedule. And so I go through and like June is audiobook month. Okay, great. September is library card sign-up month. So like I can look at this and I know like, okay, April has National Library Week and it's our biggest month, all kinds of stuff. So even if you start this now for this year, and then next year you'll kind of have a better mapped out plan of things, of maybe things that affect your industry or special events, that kind of stuff. Okay, so creating campaigns. How are you going to promote the event or sale or insert whatever your big thing is that you want to promote? So what types of posts are you thinking about? What channels are you thinking about? Do you want to do a lot of videos or images? Does it matter? A lot of times it doesn't. Like, I mean, I think I always try to do a mix of like images and videos. If you're not comfortable editing video, don't do video. Like, I mean, just pick something and post something.
And if you're not comfortable editing video, then one way to get around that is doing a Facebook Live if you are on Facebook, which we recommend for local businesses. Facebook Live, people assume it's going to be a little rougher because it's Facebook Live. You just need to make sure that, you understand what's going on behind you and you understand what's coming out of your mouth. That's important with Facebook Live. But other than that, I mean, you don't need to have a well-manicured set with, wardrobe and lighting and, understanding of Lightworks video editing. You just open your phone and press the button and start talking. So people, they engage with that content. And then if you've got good enough followers, a good enough level of followers, they'll actually be notified when you go live. And some of them will even be like, what the heck's going on here? Right? So.
Okay, so we're going to use Ice Cream Splash as some examples for you guys as you kind of think about this. So before your event, your program, whatever it is that you're doing. So this is an example. Another thing, so this is an annual sale, event, program, whatever. Take lots of pictures this year that you can use for content next year. So for example, at Ice Cream Splash, it happens every year. I use this picture all the time because it's this really long line. And we're like, make sure you buy your advance tickets and you don't have to stand in this really long line. And so just thinking about different, basically stock photos that you can use next year.
Yeah, create your own stock photos whenever possible. because people recognize locations around town and people around town, and they also know when, smiling nurse is, your stock photo.
And then also kind of highlighting, so like this was a new entertainment option that we had. So highlighting what is coming up, so people are excited about it. And I think it's really important as we go through this, and this is something that I struggle with, I feel like maybe I'm almost getting a grasp on it, but like really dumbing it down. When I sit here and say, oh, we have inflatables, we have this, no, do separate posts, like this is the inflatable that we have. This is what you're going to be able to do at it. It seems very like simple, but I always struggle with it because I'm like, oh, I said we have an inflatable. That's good enough. Well, it's not good enough.
Some people will not know what an inflatable is. And then other people will say, well, what type of inflatable? And then, also when you do individual or group, when you talk about, we have inflatables and we have ice cream tasting and the Disney princesses will be there and the fire department will be there and hose everyone down. You're murdering your content. Like you could take a post for each of those things and post it and then have more content, right? The hardest part of social media, in my opinion, is content curation, finding something that matters to give to people through your channels.
Don't be afraid to show your faces. This was one of the planning committee for this event. So not being afraid to show your employees, to show your board, to show your students, to show your customers, like get your customers to take pictures and send them in. When you do like the necktie designs, am I saying the name of your company right? Yeah. So, having when someone gets a piece of work from you, taking a selfie with it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this. So just getting that content with real people is super important.
Ooh, and when I was at Whaley's and I'd go around the locations and take photos in the pharmacy, I'd always have somebody like a CSR or a farm tech or a pharmacist like duck behind a counter real quick and get the heck out of the camera. And they'd always tell, I'm like, what are you doing? I need you in the picture, like you're important. And they'd always be like, well, I'm not ready to be on camera today. And finally, I didn't have anything to say to them, but finally it dawned on me, I'm like, you're customer facing. You see people every day. You need to be ready to see people. So I'm taking your picture. And that's when people started to realize, oh, maybe I should actually be ready for this to happen on a daily basis. If you think you look like a wreck and your job is to be smiling in front of people all day long, let me tell you, the Facebook Live is the worst release of your worries.
And then creating ads is also a really great way, depending on what your event is. So this is an ad that I created when we first started Ice Cream Splash. We still use it. But also making sure you tag your partners. So in this one, we actually tagged the event page, and then we also tagged the Arts Foundation. So that helps also get your reach out further before an event or program or whatever.
Well, and then, the Jefferson City Arts Foundation will, they'll share it and it goes to their followers. And if they tag their sponsors will share it. It goes to their followers. Okay. Now you've got new followers.
Good lead-in. Here's another post where we tagged all the different ice cream vendors. So we made sure to tag them, and then they were sharing it onto their own page. And we used it fun. A lot of times for these kind of things, if I don't have good like stock photography that I've taken, I use Unsplash and I just forgot the other one. Yes. Say it louder.
I've been listening. Pexel.
Yeah. Pexel, so it's P-E-X-E-L, I think. And then Unsplash. So there's a free, like, you have all the image rights types of things. So I would just go in and type in ice cream. And I was like, oh, it's a cute picture, please, about it. Another thing is making sure people know where to go and who to contact. So this post was directed towards our volunteers. And, when you arrive, just look for Leslie. She's the one with the pink shirt. And again, this is a picture we took 2 or 3 years ago. Leslie looks the same. I can use that picture again. And at this event, we all wear pink shirts, so it's fairly easy to find us. But so thinking about that information that you want to go out to people ahead of time.
Could you repeat names to get images. Did you say unflash?
Unsplash,
Flash.
like, and then Pexel, P-E-X-E-L. Again, trying to get information out. We had 3 vendors who were dairy-free. But trying to use humor with it, you know, do a little dance because we have 3 vendors with dairy-free options. So trying to work in humor where it's not just like, we have dairy-free options. Like, make it fun, make it engaging. I am notorious for, like, I'll Google ice cream puns, and like puns will pop up, and then you can like fit that in. So, like, even if you don't feel like you're creative, the internet is creative. Like, use it to get that stuff.
The 2 most commonly shared items on social media, especially in 2019, I feel like it was the theme of 2019, are humor and controversy. Now, one of those your brand wants to use, and one of those your brand probably doesn't want to use. You can figure out which one. And then one more comment. We normally have a presentation about this, and we've done it. I'm sure it's probably in the group somewhere. But if you have stock imagery and you'd like to work on it and you don't have Adobe or you're not comfortable with it, 2 tools that you can use, Canva and PicMonkey. In that order, Canva, in my opinion, is better for getting the image the right size, and they keep up to date with the sizes for Facebook posts versus Twitter posts versus whatever. And then PicMonkey allows you to do some minor editing to photos, such as lighting or color swaps and different things like that. So.
And then using that, you know, we were talking about our DJ is going to be there, and he'll be able to shake it all night, or at least until 9, because that's when the event is over.
Please leave fun.
And so just finding like a little bit of snark can be fun. You just kind of have to lead your brand and kind of determine what your brand is. Okay, and so then during your event, program, sale, whatever, my mother took this picture of ice cream slide, so I didn't get it's my favorite.
and that's a good point. Like, you're running your event. You probably don't have time to be everywhere looking at everything and finding every piece of content. So use, crowdfund your content, right? Like, talk to your friends who are going to be at the event, or your employees, or your event, co-chairs or whatever, and have them send whatever they feel like would be good to whoever's managing the page at that moment. And then that person just is able to do stuff, and then when they get something that strikes them and it works, they can go ahead and post it real quick, and then go back to working. And they're not running around trying to manage social media during an event where there's hundreds of people.
Again, with the news is there, get pictures of your people being on the news, and then be like, hey, make sure you watch for us on tagged news station. Our committees, and this is something that, again, feels very like obvious, but doesn't happen all the time. If you have something coming up that is an event, a program, a sale, create an event on Facebook. Even if it's like a sidewalk sale or an anniversary celebration, people are then able to say, yes, they're going or they're interested, and then they get notifications when they get closer. They'll get a notification on Sunday that says, you have 7 events coming up this week, and they can click through them. They'll get a notification that day that says, don't forget, you have an event today. It's a great built-in reminder for people, and I think sometimes people think that an event on Facebook can only be for like a physical event, but that's not necessarily the case. So utilizing that feature is super important.
If you don't consider your sale to be an event, then you probably need to reconsider why anybody would care about your sale. Treat it like an event. Treat it like a special thing. And for those of you who are like, well, I'm in the service industry, we don't have sales, it's a little different. Trade shows. I mean, do that. Hey, we're going to be out at the, what is it? What's the chamber? Small business. Yes, the expo. Thank you. I've only had half a cup of coffee, so I'm going to be out at the business expo. Come see me, and then obviously tag the chamber, and then the chamber will go, hey, this is a chamber member. Come see him,
And one thing I will say, if you're doing something that's part of a bigger event like that, you can go onto their page on their Facebook event, and you can click add to my page, and then it will add it to your own page, but that way there are not 17 events about the expo, and nobody knows which one is correct or what information or things are So that's when it's like a bigger community-wide event, that's what I recommend, is just adding it to your own page. And it's something you're managing. But yeah, use it like, it's just another way for people to be reminded of you and what you're doing. And then after the event, I like this. So this, I won't say works super well, but we keep doing it because eventually it's gonna work. We create a Google Drive folder for every year for Ice Cream Splash, and we make it where anybody can upload, and we post it after the event. And we're like, hey, is your phone full of pictures from last night? Please upload some to our drive so that we can use them next year, or post them in the album, or that kind of thing. So like Over the Edge, like this would be a cool thing for Over the Edge, like everyone that took pictures to like, I didn't think about that till just now, sorry.
Or you could also say, share your favorite picture of the event in the comments below. And then the image is tied to your event, to your page, and it gets engagement. People, Natalie said it earlier, what book are you reading? People want to tell you what they think and what they feel and what they're doing. And so it's important that you ask for their engagement.
And then sharing, like if there was a contest or something like that, sharing who won that. And not forgetting to thank the people that made the event possible. Thanking your sponsors. You lead up to the event and you usually advertise your sponsors, but making sure that you're advertising them after the event is also super important, because then they're much more likely to want to give you money next year. And then creating a photo album is also something that I think makes it easier for us as marketers when we're going back for content later. But like we always do a year album. That way you're not trying to go through your page. It's all in an album.
Also, it's important to point out, and I'm sure someone's already thought about it, but when you're posting images from an event, or if you're even in your, in your own store, obviously, you've got your own rules, and as long as you let people know about those rules, you're fine. So one of those girls is actually Catherine's, our daughter's cousin, so we definitely had permission to do that one. But that's the other thing, is when you're taking pictures, you can do either a carte blanche statement that's very public, that, this event is a public event. You can be photographed. You can be, videoed or whatever. You could be on video, Anytime someone goes to an event like this and the news is there, I mean, come on, there's a good chance that you're going to be walking in the background of the news, so you're going to be in video. But make sure that you have some sort of public statement, or you're asking permission before you do that type of stuff. That's important. And also one more thing, I guess, with the sponsors, again, this is a very heavily, nonprofit / event example, but again, think about how it could be used for your business. So if you run a store, and instead of sampling the different ice creams, right up there, you have different brands. So you could say featured brands in the sale would be, and who knows, maybe some of them will share that or engage with it, and So you could also say this was the most purchased item during our sale as a follow-up. So there's different ways that you could manipulate the example up here to your organization or your event, whatever that event is.
I did. On your Google Drive that you're creating, so you're creating a Google Drive and then asking everybody to upload pictures of the event. Are they able to download those same pictures?
Yeah, probably.
And there's never been any concern with.
If people are uploading the photos on there, they know it's going to be used in a public way, so no one's ever said anything.
I mean, it'd be one thing if you somehow got their pictures without their consent and then used them wherever, but if you're asking somebody, can you share these images in a very public fashion, more often than not, unless of course, like sometimes law enforcement will say, if you have any evidence that could be used, please contact us privately. At that point, it's probably not going to be publicly consumed unless they, need to, and then they'll ask your permission. But the point is there's an inherent consent when you're asking in a public manner like this. I mean, I think that it's I could see where it could be controversial, but there's no liability there, because again, they could not give them to you.
I've not run into, both at the library and doing all these events, I've never run into where somebody's been like, you shouldn't use my picture.
Yeah.
It's not on work.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions? Yeah.
So, one of my concerns is like frequency. How often do you post? You don't want to over stimulate someone and you're like, oh crap, I won't follow them anymore. And like, where's the balance of frequency?
So if your content is good, no one's gonna get annoyed by you. It's kind of how we at the library, we post twice a day, 7 days a week. I post at lunchtime and I post in the evening. Now you have to remember at the library, we have over 60 programs a month, plus resources, plus special events. I have a lot of content to work with. So that's what we do. I will say on Facebook, I feel like we need to post more than on Instagram. Facebook is one of those ones that you need more content, but maybe you just need to set a schedule and stick with it. So whether it's once a day or every other day, whatever that is for you. For Instagram, you don't have to post in your feed as much. I think a lot of the stuff I see is like 3 to 4 times a week in your feed. But if you're doing stories, that's something that you should be on more often. Again, every day, every other day kind of situation. But again, just pick a schedule and go with it. If you're just starting out and your full-time job is not social media marketing, then you probably don't have that time. I mean, even for me, where I am not just the social media marketer, I'm the marketer, I don't have time to do all of that. So just pick a schedule and go with it.
But also be aware, obviously if the way that she got to lunchtime and evening, correct? Lunchtime and evening? Okay. The way she got there was by, posting in the morning and seeing if it worked. And then, okay, if it didn't work, is it the content that's not resonating or is it the time? So next time you want to post in the morning, find a piece of content that normally resonates, post it in the morning. If it doesn't resonate, chances are it's the time, it's not the content. So it is, marketing is research. It's constantly throwing things against the wall, seeing what works, taking down what doesn't. And so if you're just starting out, like Natalie said, if you don't have a lot of time, yeah, pick a schedule and go with it. But then be mindful, man, I didn't get any notifications on this post that I posted at 3:15 p.m. And I haven't noticed that actually for the last week. So maybe I should switch that afternoon one to an evening post now, next week. And again, you don't have to put too much time into it, but obviously put something out there, and if it's not working, stop putting it out. So.
Well, and I think too, think about when you are on social media.
Yeah.
Right? I'm on Facebook when I wake up, lunchtime, 2 o'clock when I'm ready for work to be done, and in the evening after dinner and bath time.
Come on, everybody.
And that's like Thursday and Friday at 2 o'clock, primo posting time. Nobody wants to be at work anymore. They're all on Facebook. And so just like looking at that and like playing with that a little bit to see when it is that your audience is there. Also being mindful of the seasons. So right now it gets darker earlier, so like I'll post between 7 and 8. But once it gets like summer hits, I don't post anything until like between 8:30 and like 10. Because people are outside, they're not on their phones then. So just thinking about that, and we've had that before where I was like, man, I have such a good post, why didn't anybody react to it? And then I was like, oh crap, it's so bright outside. I was like, nobody's looking at their phones right now. So just keeping that in mind.
So when you post something, I have people that like my page and I have all others.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the algorithm there? When I post something, who's going to see?
So from what I've heard recently, is that you want to try to get as much interaction as you can in the first 30 minutes to an hour after you post something. And then from that, it's shown even more. So it'll go out first to the people that like your page or who have interacted with your page more often. And so that's why you'll see like the 94.3 The Morning Show. Like they post fun stuff all the time on there. It's a good page to follow if you're looking for like humorous ideas. And so like when I start like interacting with their page more, like I'm like, oh, that was funny, and I get like the ha. I see their stuff all the time then. So, it's kind of a crapshoot what Facebook, who they want to show it to. But like if we're doing a big like announcement, which I've been having a very large staff, like I will send the link out to a post that I did to our staff, and I'm like, please go interact and like this and comment on this. Because if we can get 10 staff members to do it, it boosts the whole algorithm. So if you have friends or post it on a social media group and say, hey guys, I need some help. I really need interaction on this post. And we'll all pile in, comment, like, and help boost your algorithm.
Do you automatically sponsor all your posts or?
No, we don't. I actually don't sponsor
Because
hardly any.
why would it be shown to people that don't like you?
Because it's a public page, and so if Kenny posts something, or so say I post something on the library page and Kenny interacts with it, then sometimes it'll show Kenny's friends, Kenny interacted with this post. And so it kind of, well, then it only works on public pages.
Okay, so I was wondering where I was getting these other people and I didn't sponsor it.
Yep,
And
that's it.
and actually, and speaking from professional experience now, how you identify your brand, your business's page, your organization's page on Facebook also influences how much it'll show. So again, remember the political cycle of the last few years and the heat that social media companies took for, lighting fires and all this other stuff. So one of the things that they've started to do is if you engage with a bunch of left-leaning pages frequently, then just because you're friends with somebody who comments on a right-leaning page, that page might still not be shown to you because of your interests and likes. So from a political standpoint, if you're looking at an event or a cause or something like that, or if you're running a politician page or something like that, it may not do that. And then one more thing, and I did mention this, but and to be fair, I don't know why you would do one but not the other. But if you look at a Facebook page, you'll notice KRCG I've liked, but I'm also following the page. And I can unfollow the page and actually change notifications that I'm given. So you can get notified when they go live or not. You could see their posts in your newsfeed or not, and then still like the page, which is why it's important not to judge the efficacy of your social media platform simply by the number of people who like your content or like your page, because they might not even be seeing your content. So, and you can actually go into your Facebook page and take a look at what businesses you like, and then you just scroll through the list, and I guarantee you'll find one that says, that you're like, I never see content from these people. Are they gone? And you'll click them. Nope, they're very active. And that might be because at some point in time they provided content to you that you didn't like, so you said see less often, and Facebook will sometimes automatically unfollow you from that business. So that's an important thing to be careful of when you're a business. If you provide too much content that people don't like and they keep saying see less, see less, see less, Facebook will automatically unfollow you, and now that person will not see your content anymore. So that's why it's important not to always judge how quality your social platform is simply by the people that like your page.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
Kind of related. First of all, you mentioned Instagram and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
You also mentioned Twitter. I really don't understand Twitter or Instagram. I'm not of that age group, but does every business need Twitter accounts? Does every business need Instagram? How do we know if we need those?
So I would look at what your competitors are doing, or like I know like Missouri Wines, like they're super active on Instagram. They're very active on Facebook. So looking at people who are kind of in your industry, because Instagram is basically a lot of great photos, like thinking about what you represent, like you could probably really thrive on Instagram. But if you don't have time to do it, just do Facebook really well. Like, I mean, and Twitter is one, unless you're doing business to business, or like tech, video games,
Politics.
or politics.
Or news. Twitter is actually my favorite social media platform. And by that I mean, when I wake up in the morning, it's the one I check first. And when I go to bed at night, it's the one I check last. And it's the one when I'm bored, I just swipe and look through. That being said, I would argue that the vast majority of local businesses do not need to be on Twitter. It's a time suck, first of all, if you're a social media manager. Because tweets live seconds. They don't even live minutes or hours. I mean, they live seconds. And the only time they're going to come back up is when they're coming back up probably to bite you in the butt. And so I would recommend, like, if you're talking about difficulties, I think Facebook is easy, Instagram is medium, and Twitter is like super hard. So unless you've got a lot of time and you're really humming on other channels, again, where you know your business is, I would recommend against Twitter. I really would.
On the second part of the question, if you have both Facebook and Instagram, are you constantly adding your hashtag on your Facebook post, on every Facebook post?
The hashtags aren't super valuable on Facebook because you can't search them as easily as Instagram. They're more important on Instagram.
And Twitter.
And Twitter.
You can follow the hashtag.
Right, you can follow it. So like I follow the hashtag JCMO because I want to see what's going on in our community. So that's one that I follow.
So
and look at.
automatically, without even having to click it, now anything that's hashtag JCMO, regardless of whether she knows the brand or the person or anything, shows up in her feed. So it's kind of like watching, you're just watching your local city.
So would it be beneficial then to use the hashtag JCMO for an advertising?
On Instagram, yes. I would say not on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Instagram, again, you mentioned not having familiarity with it. Instagram, the hook and the main draw, the main appeal is images. So if you have appealing images, and you do, we know you do. They appeal to us. So take good pictures, but then you do have the option to create long-form content. Once people, if they're looking through their news feed and they see, or no, if they're not, if they just search for hashtag JCMO and there's an image of the Bluffs, right? And they click it because they want to see the image larger. All of a sudden, they're also presented with information about the post. So how many people like it? How many people, are engaging with it in comments? But it also gives you the ability to tell them a story. Give them the image that gets in their head, and then tell them a story. You don't have a character limit on within reason. You don't have a character limit on Instagram.
Well, I feel like I barely keep up with Facebook. I'm not sure how I feel about adding a whole other platform to try to keep up with. How does everybody find time to do all the social media?
It is, 100%. But you know what? Even at the library, I'm the first. They've had other marketers in the past. I'm the first trained marketer that we've hired. And I will tell you that since I came on, our numbers have gone through the roof, doubled and tripled. And for us, it doesn't matter because just because we're checking out more bucks, we don't make more money. We're tax-based, it's the same. But for a business, if you hire a good marketer, you are truly going to see a lot of great benefits for your company.
And to be fair, again, the Vitae Foundation, a portion of it is a digital marketing agency, right? And I hired our first social media manager in May. And I've worked there for 3 years. What did we do before then? Well, we ran around like chickens with our heads cut off, managing multiple digital media campaigns. And I was a marketer, and I didn't have the time to manage that Facebook page, that Instagram page as effectively as this. So we bit the bullet, and we decided that we needed to work on the business and not just in the business. And that was our key. We could have hired another campaign manager and added more clients, but instead what we decided to do was spend a little bit more money it's a risk, and it's paid off very well. So, there. If the question though really at heart is if you're overwhelmed, how do I add another channel? And the answer is you don't. Just make sure that you're using your efforts towards the correct channel. And we can't answer that for you, but if you feel like Facebook isn't paying off, ask yourself why. If it's because the content isn't engaging, or if it's because the platform just isn't where people are. I would argue for your business, knowing a little bit about it, I would say Facebook should be pretty profitable for you eventually if it's firing on all cylinders. So give your events person something.
Part of the time saving, we when you post something on Instagram, you can just press the little button and it'll all press on. But, so is that a good idea or a bad idea?
I am very adamant it's a bad idea. What I would recommend doing, don't post the same things at the same time on all your channels, but you can take that content and reuse it later.
Recycle.
So you don't have to post them all at the same time, but you can say, oh, that post did really well on Instagram. How can I kind of recycle it on Facebook? And so that's just, and I always use Silver Dollar City as an example. Silver Dollar City's marketing has gotten really good in the last like 6 months. They're super funny. But they post the same stuff on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter all the same time. Drives me nuts. Because when I'm scrolling, I'm like, I already saw that. And so then now, like, Facebook is not showing me their content because I'm not interacting with it because I already saw it on Instagram. So even if they do start posting other stuff, I'm not going to see it.
So, and the other thing is, again, think about the content, not only where your audience is and what platform you should use to reach them, but how you're going to reach them and the content that works best per platform. So here, obviously, we have 2 images. Both of them are Facebook worthy because this one is in the moment. It's the news interviewing the president of the Jefferson City Arts Foundation. But is that really Instagram worthy? I don't know that it is. That photo is pretty Instagram worthy because if someone's scrolling along and they see it, it's going to catch their eye. Either because they're OCD like me and they're like, get that kid a napkin, or they're like, oh, it's so cute. I mean, it's going to reach people. So that, in my opinion, is more evergreen content. It would be better on Instagram. But again, that depends on where you are, where your audience is, because if your audience isn't on Instagram, that content isn't going to serve you as well.
So do you believe that social media is more effective than going in a magazine or a newspaper?
I'm like, and we are being recorded.
Precisely. So I will tell you that I read every local magazine in town. I don't read the newspaper. I do read. I've been intrigued by this new thing called Buzz, which has come out, and I watch the local news through social media. We do not have cables, and antennas just don't work at our house. So I watch local news through social media. Having said that, I'm a 32-year-old techie. I prioritize technology in my life, and so social media speaks to me. So if a 32-year-old overweight father of 1 video gamer professional blabberer is your target audience, then you can reach me through magazines, by the way, or social media. The magazines, because I'm a professional in the community. I want to absorb as much content that's local as possible. So it really depends on your audience. We have absolutely placed magazine and newspaper advertisements. When I worked at Whaley's, I wrote the TV commercials and really pushed to even include radio. A 32-year-old, at the time, 29-year-old pushing radio. I mean, that's nuts, right? But I did it because our target audience was, one of our segments of our target audience was middle-aged to older men. We wanted to get them involved in health as they started to take care of their parents, and Dan Basil walked out of the room, because the primary target audience actually of Whaley's at the time when I was there was women, because let's be frank, if I get sick, I'm going to stay home in bed, and she's going to push me to go to the doctor. So she's the one who manages the healthcare. But again, it's all about your audience. Just like you might not want to be on Twitter and you want to focus on Facebook, you might want to be in City Magazine and not the newspaper. Maybe the newspaper and maybe not. But
I think the biggest thing is we definitely, like, social media is just as important, if not a little bit more, than traditional media in this day and age. So when social media, when you're thinking about your budgets and spending money, and social media is the afterthought, that's the wrong direction to go. It needs to be up there, like, you need to consider it a major player just like you would other mediums.
And social media is not free, by the way. It's not free. Even organic content is not free. You pay for it. How do you pay for it? The time and energy that you're using to put that content on social media could be used to better your business in some other capacity. You're paying yourself, you're paying your employees. So organic content isn't free, but it could be, if utilized correctly, some of the most valuable in terms of ROI that you can have. Because chances are, if you're placing an ad in a magazine or on KRCG, you're going to be paying someone to manage either the photo shoot and the content creation, or if it's a or if it's a video, a commercial, you're going to have somebody that's a little bit more professional than just me with my iPhone to do it. So think about how much money you have to spend in marketing, and then where your audience is, and all that stuff. It's all connected.
I was told that and I have 2 pages, one's my business page, personal. I'm gonna take my business page, but I shouldn't say share, but I should copy and paste it all over onto my personal page. I wanted it there instead of share. Is there a reason for that? Is that correct?
I think if you're trying to build your business page, it's more valuable to just share, because then people know your business page exists.
There's also, it's also like, think of like rules of engagement. If it's your business page, I would definitely recommend sharing it, because you want to build your business page. If it's someone else's content, I would still share it, because otherwise you could be viewed as someone who's stealing content. The share button it's definitely, I would definitely recommend using it. I can't tell you the number of times I've been on social media where someone posts something and it looks like their original content and it takes off, and then the first 100 comments or something are, "You didn't post this," screenshot of the brand that did, and it's messy. I would always share it. If it's a competitor and you want to share their content, that's when you have to ask yourself, I don't know that I want to share their content, but maybe you can in a way that won't hurt your brand, but will actually buoy you. There's always, again, interplay between brands can be a good thing. So, I hope that answers all of their
Well, usually, if she had just said, this is what she does with all her. She had said it would mess the healthy algorithm.
And it actually,
really, it makes sense that the share buttons are.
yeah, and if the same picture is getting posted on multiple pages, sometimes it can be flagged as spam. So then you're running into that risk too. But okay, we've gone way over.
But I'll be here.
Yeah, if you guys have questions. Thank you guys so much. Next month, Kenny will be talking about digital marketing.
Yes.
That's very wide and broad right now, because we're still figuring it out, but I will not be here. So he's gonna do digital marketing, like Google Ads.
And there might be an emphasis on Google Ads.
So.
It's not social media, but every once in a while we try to reach out.
Okay. Thanks, guys.